too. I mean, that whole idea of control is basically to have respect for what the rules are of society and or the culture in which you live.
Yeah, so
Not
generally...
that I'm suggesting that anyone
should follow them.
do that.
But generally, Venus, the planet of love and approval in Capricorn, rules and work for it, says you will be loved and you will be approved when you follow the rules.
Right,
Now,
love happens to those who do it right.
and over until they get it right, which doesn't fit our conventional notions about love and romance. We either like each other or not, or we get used to each other, or there's this sort of magic. This whole notion of falling in love is not about a conscious process. We have to get unconscious to be in love, to fall into love, in a sense. And yet Venus in Capricorn, Capricorn is like buttoned down, buttoned up, very alert, on time, within the white lines. And Venus, the planet of love in Capricorn, on the positive side, challenges us to be clearer about our commitments, our ambitions in relationships.
There's another positive side, and something we'll talk about next month as we begin to talk more about the Capricorn time of year. And that is that Venus in Capricorn is all those things that you said. There's that sense of reserve and respect for tradition and the doing it right and all of those things. But Capricorn is also like, it's the horny goat. It's the goat. There's a sexy side of Capricorn. And part of Venus in Capricorn is, if I know the rules, it's so I can do what I need to do in order to have the pleasure. But I have to follow the rules in order to be able to relax into that.
Yeah, and the most important rules are again, your own inner ones. Talked about the institutions that we have, and you might see with Venus in Capricorn now where your rigidity comes up about relationships. You know, where you have the preconceived notion of how you want somebody to look, how you want somebody to behave, what's the kind of quality and appearance that you want. I'm not saying that we have to drop that, but I think we're challenged to take a clearer look at it. And what I love, Venus is beauty and grace. And Capricorn, I sometimes like to say, is good at nothing, except having the persistence and the structure to learn how to do anything it puts its mind to.
Like a master.
Right, right. And it doesn't necessarily require talent. It requires the commitment. So,
Persistence.
and persistence. So if you're looking for love, art, beauty, pleasure, even the rewards of money, Venus in Capricorn, generally, we've got a couple of exception dates to talk about, but Venus in Capricorn is generally a period of time in which you will be rewarded for your effort.
So let's talk about the exception dates, which really come right on the tail of that Sun's trine to Jupiter on the 12th. Venus, as you can see, is pushing up against a conjunction to Pluto day by day until it actually joins up with Pluto. And this is on the 14th and 15th. Venus lines up with Pluto, which is still being squared by Uranus. So what does that do to these notions of stability and order and doing things right and making things last? I mean, Venus in Capricorn has a tremendous sense of loyalty because persistence is really important. For Venus in Capricorn, how long a relationship lasts may be as important as how good it was while it lasted.
Well, Venus square Uranus. Uranus is the first planet discovered by telescope. It rotates perpendicular to its plane of orbit around the Sun. It was discovered between the American and French revolutions at the dawn of the steam age, at a time of early experimentation with electricity. It's weird, it's odd, it's out of the box. It doesn't follow any rules. So, if we're operating in a Venus in Capricorn way, which is, well, I invited you over for dinner at 6 o'clock, I expect you to be here at 6 o'clock, and you know, you said you were bringing dessert, and you know I hate pears, so don't bring pears. In other words, you know the rules. Well, Uranus says there are no stinking rules.
Right, and they come at 7:30 and they bring pear as a main course.
Exactly, exactly. And what's weird,
with an entourage of crazy people.
Of crazy, inappropriate people. So Venus square Uranus can mean disruption in relationships, taste, values, aesthetics, and the social order, but potentially with flexibility. It means breakthrough and discovery, and finding out that the thing you thought you didn't like or wouldn't like, or the thing you thought somebody wouldn't like about you, produces a desirable result. It's shock, it's surprise, it's breaking the rules. It's also like seeing the most buttoned down person you know acting freer, weirder, or in some other unpredictable and unsettling way.
And Venus is square to Uranus by itself, which happens twice a year usually, would be enough of a topic to talk about, except this isn't any Venus. This is a Venus who is also now joined up with Pluto. Pluto, sometimes we call Darth Pluto, because Pluto is the lord of the underworld. This is about darkness. It's not necessarily about bad or evil. It's just about that which is in the shadows. And so it's all of those hidden desires. In some ways, Pluto is the bacchanalian energies that are suppressed, that can come out almost like an erupting volcano. Now, you add this energy of the heat inside the volcano that's contained because it needs to be, and you then take Uranus, the lightning, and you strike the lightning at the volcano, and you add Venus to the mix, and you go, I kind of like this. And it may be fun for a bit, but it also can be, because Uranus is involved, tremendously disruptive.
Yeah, it's largely disruptive, but if the purpose of Venus is to love and to find value, and we're in a 3 to 4 year period of time, a profound cultural change, this is about learning to appreciate it. As the planet of love joins transformational Pluto and challenges, or is challenged by transformational Uranus, it's about finding the value of extremes. And that if we can find the value in extremes, then we can use them in constructive ways rather than fighting the tide of change that's likely to be around.
Don't you think, Jeff, that this Venus-Pluto-Uranus is also about looking at relationships that in some way may have some stuck energy, like stuck chi even in the body.
Yeah, very much.
And in some ways there's something here about, it's not, I mean, I said it can be disruptive, but sometimes disruption is freeing, and we have that element here of that also, I think.
Well, it's the cure for ruption, whatever that is.
It sounds like something that you should have an operation for.
That's right, that's right. Yeah, that if you're in a relationship where you're not satisfied, or if you're not in a relationship and you're not satisfied, Uranus to Venus says, change your hair, change your approach, change your values,
stirring things up.
Right.
But because Pluto's involved, we're not just stirring stuff up on the surface.
Well, the consequences are deep. If you wear just the most vaguely alluring blouse to work to evoke a response from somebody, that doesn't mean you want to be sexually attacked in the parking lot. In other words, Pluto can evoke a response that's more intense than anticipated. And because we've got this provocative, shaky, disruptive Venus-Uranus energy followed by the Pluto, that may mean that signals are misread, that somebody said, well, just because you were friendly and said, well, I might consider going out with you one time, that doesn't mean you want to have sex with them in the back of their car in the parking lot that night, which was where Pluto might take it, if Pluto's full of desire. The other side is, watch what you condemn. The people, you know, the moralists who are condemning, you shouldn't do this, we know that inwardly they're all perverts, right? They're all just sort of responding and reacting to their own conflicted desires and fears. Well, because Venus-Pluto is also potentially about desire, watch what you condemn. The things you condemn, the people you don't like, the behaviors that you don't like have something to tell you about yourself. Not that you want to do exactly the same thing, but maybe you're jealous of what she gets away with. Maybe you're resentful of what he does because you would like to do a little of it, but do it in a different way. That's sort of Pluto's weird world with Venus. Here, we're going to pull something into your orbit that might on one level be repellent to you. But if you're really attached to how repulsive it is, then it belongs to you in some way. And look deeper.
And remember, although this is exact, the Sun trine Jupiter is exact on the 12th, and then the Venus squaring Uranus and conjuncting Pluto is exact on the 14th and 15th. This energy both has, it has substance both coming and going. So it'll linger for a few days. And I think one of the important things here to consider about this is that it's at a time where the energy is building up toward a full moon. And of course we have Pluto, Venus joining Pluto, and as Jeff said earlier, Pluto is the planet that does Scorpio's bidding. And the full moon on November 17th is a moon in Taurus opposite that Scorpio sun, and it's almost like, I think, a last stand for this intense Scorpio energy, at least at this time of year, because over the next week, the sun moves out of Scorpio and into Sagittarius, and we don't have to deal with any of this heavy shit anymore. We can just eat turkey and get fat.
Right.
We'll come back to that in a minute.
And eating turkey and getting fat is something that the full moon in Taurus likes. Taurus is a sign of fat, dumb, and happy. And the full moon in Taurus means that the moon in the sign of the contented cow is opposing the sun in ever hungry Scorpio. And what that full moon does is it brings into awareness this issue of, do I seek comfort and accept things as they are, which is what the Taurus moon wants to do, or should I continue to stir the pot of desire and disappointment to go for more? And I think what Rick pointed out is quite right. I think that Taurus full moon really is going to probably calm. Even though it's a full moon, traditional astrology likes the moon in Taurus, and I think this is a counterforce that says, okay, maybe things don't have to be as intense as they feel to you at this time. Now, that might be a healthy cooling, or it might just be going numb because you can't face the reality of what it is you really want.
Yeah, I think that, I like what you said, and I think also what's important to understand here is that the full moon is like a culmination in the monthly cycle. And 2 weeks prior to this full moon, which was just a couple days ago, we had a solar eclipse. And remember that solar eclipse, when the moon a fortnight ago, 2 weeks ago, was lined up with the sun, which was lined up also with Saturn. Now as the moon is opposite, we still have all those planets in complex, complicated Scorpio, but the moon is now looking at it from enough distance, far enough away, that the moon says, I need things to be simple. I need to get back to basics. I need to know what's real by what I can touch or taste or see. And the moon, in some ways, is a reality check here. And I think that it is the beginning of the end of this wave of complexity. There's still a couple of other punches or hits that happen, but largely, I agree with you, this full moon is like a culmination of the complexity before and a desire to start bringing things round and to think about eating turkey.
Yeah, and maybe a constructive use of this, the contentment of the full moon in Scorpio, is full moon in Taurus, is not about going to sleep and settling for less and being lazy. It's simply about finding a position where you can lean towards Scorpio, hunger, need, desire, passion, intensity, go, 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 or where you can lean toward Taurus and go, I'm okay, let me put my feet up on the couch and rest on my laurels a little bit. Ideally, a full moon is not a choice between opposing points, it's a bridge between them.
Yeah,
and that would
I
be
agree.
the more desirable expression of that full moon. Join Rick Levine and Jeff Jower for their annual forecast seminar at beautiful Brighton Bush Hot Springs, Oregon from January 10th through 12th next year. For details, go to brightonbush.com. That's Breitenbush.com. Join astrologers Jeff Jower, Alan Oken, Aaron Sullivan, and Lauren Albandian for the Wisdom of Astrology Conference from March 29th to April 4th, 2014 in Santa Fe, New Mexico. For details and registration, go to alanoken.com or click the link on the front page of stariq.com.